Welcome back, Jody, Janati.
Thank you. All right, well, good morning, everyone. Oh, good morning. Something really interesting happens when someone stands in front of a room full of people, right? It's kind of happening right now, whether you're aware of it or not. And it goes something like this. What do I think of you? And what do you think of me? And what do I think you think of me? And what do you think I think of you? And what do I think you think I think of you? And what do you think I think you think of me? And then you get up here and you lose your damn mind. Like, I hope he wasn't offended when I said, I hope she didn't think I was trying to say this. And you realize at any given moment, you can have a real problem with someone, right? So the last time I was privileged to come here and speak to you, we talked a lot about how to deal with difficult interactions. And I made a real good point of not saying difficult people. I said difficult interactions, because most people are good people. Most people want to like themselves in the mirror at the end of the day. And we're probably only dealing with like 1% to 3% of the population who's a true sociopath. So we can chill out a little bit. So today, when I was looking at your theme for the month, it talks about how to be a lighthouse. And we're living in a world right now where you have to be healthy in order to help other people, right? So I think we all know the idea of you could never be sick enough to help the sickest person, right? You can never be poor enough to help the poorest people. But if you have money, you can give it away. You can share, you can tip higher, you can serve other people, right? So I thought I would give you some tips on how to keep your head right and stay positive and be resilient so you can be a lighthouse for other people. And in there, I'm going to sneak in some tips. And I know this community is very well read and very cutting edge. So for me to pretend I'm teaching you anything is probably a joke. But I will say, I cannot teach you anything, but I can make you think. Who said that? Aristotle or Socrates? One of them. I can't even remember. I'm not that smart. Okay, good. So here is a good thought for what we went through maybe in the last few years with COVID, right? I mean, I think a lot of us can relate to this. Sometimes the things that break our heart fix our vision, and a lot of us are seeing what we want instead of what we don't want. And remember, what you focus on is what you get. So at this point, I think a lot of us can relate to that. I'm taking an art theme today to try to be creative, right? So here are some tips. Sometimes when people want to do better and they just want little nuggets of wisdom, I just think that that's maybe what I'm good at. I read a lot, and then I like to dumb it down to little nuggets of wisdom. So that's my goal today. Give you nuggets of wisdom so when you walk out of here, you can actually implement them. Now, in my work on conflict and negotiation, I know that if it works on a 5-year-old, it works on any adult, okay? And I teach at all the Minnesota State prisons. You know, you're not the worst crowd I've ever seen. So anyway, I deal with a lot of conflict, and I will tell you that it's true. If it works on a 5-year-old, it works on any human. So that's always good. So if you have children in your life somewhere, anything we're saying will work for you. So we're going to go from the simple to the more profound. So let me just give you an idea here of just switching your thoughts from I have to, right? I choose to, I get to. For the sake of the time I have to spend with you today, we'll just do it quickly. If you put it on a 5-year-old, let's pretend that you're all my children. Hey guys, guess what? The neighbors invited us over and they want me to bring you. And they are from another country, and I don't know if you've ever tried their food. It might not look the same as our food. I love it. Listen, you're going to eat it. Do you hear me? You're going to have your manners on. You need to be responsible and eat it. You feel how you're going to get some resistance there? Like, I'm not eating that crap. I'm not eating it. No. So you sometimes can set people up to fail on the front end by saying you have to. And we're going to look at naughty words in a minute here. What if you lessened it a little bit on the front end and you said, hey guys, the neighbors invited us over. I don't know if you're going to like the food or not. I love it. Here's what I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask that you choose to be kind and you choose to try a few things on your plate, even if you don't know what can you do that? Can you do that? You see how they're like, probably not. But do you see how it frees up the resistance? Resistance is everything in conflict. Resistance is everything in keeping yourself from growing. Look at the third option. Hey, you guys, the neighbors invited us over, and I'm so excited because you get to come too. You know that food that mom really likes? You get to eat it too. How much food is that kid eating? The whole plate. Because you positioned it right. I mean, how many of you have a job where they say, we have to get the policy and procedure guide done before the new year? Who wants to be on the committee? Does that sell it for you? That doesn't sell it. So I'm just giving you other ways of positioning. Anytime someone has to do something, it becomes a problem, even for yourself. So if you can lighten your load a little, just choose to. You choose to. I know before COVID, I used to be guilty of, I have to work tomorrow. I have to travel here, and really? And then COVID comes and I lose 26 flights in one day, and I will never again in my whole life say I have to work ever again. Like, it's a blessing that I have to work. In fact, I'm not even ever going to say that. I get to work. How many of you get to come here today? How many of you get to go out to brunch with a great person? I mean, this life is amazing, right? So we're going to look at the positive. So, dear. Gary, I might need your assistance. Hit it, Gary. I don't even know what I'm talking about up here unless I see mine. Okay, here we go. So everybody knows Dr. Dyer's work in here. And Dr. Dyer, probably my favorite book of his was The Power of Intention, most profound. He said you change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change, right? Anais Nin says, we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. Now, I'm just thinking about proposing a course for this community on the Enneagram profiling system so you can learn about yourself better. And I know a lot of you read about the Enneagram, but I'll take my work with conflict and negotiation and show you your pathology, like who you are when you lose it and go right off the rails and go to prison. I can show you that. So we're going to do that. Joe Dispenza will say, your personality creates your personal reality. That goes hand in hand with your focal point. What you focus on, you attract. And those of us who love quantum physics, I'm talking to the wrong crowd here. We know that already, right? Steven Spielberg says your focus determines your reality. I mean, I think it always comes down to focus, and it always comes down to the choice of your focus. Do you know how many people are walking around that don't even know they have a choice? That is the first part, right? So what we see depends mainly on what we look for. So who creates your thinking? Let's say that you were sitting at a campfire tonight and someone starts saying, my boss is driving me crazy. I can't stand my boss. My boss is driving me crazy. Here's the question I would ask them. What do you think your boss is thinking about right now? What would the answer be? Not you. Not you. So who's driving you crazy? You are. Your boss isn't even there. So it's the thoughts that your boss are driving you crazy. And who controls those thoughts? You do. So a lot of times people forget just how powerful they are. I've used this many times as a professor over the years. I just spent a semester down in La Crosse teaching. And, sometimes over the years, even at the University of Minnesota, I was there for over a decade, I'd get students I had a gal who would come into class early. My mom's driving me crazy. You're never going to believe what my mom said, Jody. Look, I'm going to read this to you. And she would read it, and that's fine. I'm there, but not every day. All semester, and every day all semester she would show up early, and you're never going to believe what my mom did. My mom is crazy. And finally I was like, you know what, I think I'm done. I'm done entertaining stories about your mom in a negative way. We're going to have a life lesson here. And I just go to the chalkboard and I pretend to be writing my notes, and she's going on and on about her mom, and I finally say, is your mom here? I'm sorry, is your mom out in the hall? You can invite her in today for class. She's like, what? I'm like, well, you said your mom's driving you crazy. I'm sorry, is your mom here? She's like, no, Jody, I'm from Wisconsin. Anyway, and I'm like, well, wait a minute now. So your mom's from Wisconsin, and she's driving you crazy, and she's not here. And then I went back to the board and turned my back, and I said, maybe you're thinking about your mom is driving you crazy. And then we never talked about it again. Isn't that interesting? Sometimes awareness equals change. Awareness is the sweet spot. Awareness is like a little mirror that you hold up to people. And for the people who are ready to see it, you see the mirror and then you're like, I caught it. So if you can catch yourself, you can do better. So my boss is ruining my life. My mom is driving me crazy. The good news is we're all in this together, right? Unity in the community. There's a good talk. You can't see that girl very well. So I want to ask you, are you mindful? Are you walking through life in the here and now, or is your mind just full all the time and driving you crazy? Because you can control that too. Now, for some people, it's going to be lighting a candle and looking at the flame and focusing in the here and now. Some people have a monkey mind that's all over the place. Some people have a body that's all over the place, right? And that goes back to your head center, your heart center, or your gut center, which is your intelligence centers of the body. So here's a little joke. It's not funny, but it's clever. What is the best vitamin for a drama-free communicator or a drama-free person? Just be one. Just be one. There's your vitamin. So how do we do that? That's like $1 million question. How do you be one? Well, I do have some answers that I think would answer this question in our short period of time. I know that my work with conflict and negotiation, that the Chinese symbol for crisis is made up of 2 words superimposed. So it's a Chinese symbol for crisis, and it's danger and opportunity superimposed. Isn't that beautiful? So at any given moment when you're dealing with someone, you can be up against yourself or them for danger or having an opportunity. And it really does take 2 people to create problems. It really does. It really does. So I'm showing you that the word reactive and the word creative have the exact same letters in them. God, I love that. Most people are just going through life with cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. But did you know that you can actually cause an effect that you would desire for yourself and what your preferences are? You can do that. And when more people understand this, then we can shift a whole community, let alone a nation. So I want to give you a few tips and then we'll go bigger on people. If any one of you are suffering or know someone who's suffering, this might get your this might help. So you know when you first are introduced to Eckhart Tolle and living in the now or anything with mindfulness, a lot of us meet that material with a mind like, okay, I have a million things going on. I don't have time to mindfully feel the water on my hands. I've got a checklist of 26 things, milk, butter, eggs, cheese, grandma's birthday, get some stamps. I got to mow the lawn, bring the meat out and thaw it. I mean, you know how your brain works. So I fought against that when that started trending. Like, I don't have time to be mindful and I don't get it. But do you know when I got it? I got it when I learned that you could look at it through the lens of conflict, which I'm interested in. So here's how I want to say it to you, and you can help yourself or help someone else easily with this. If you're sitting here today and you're angry, hurt, upset, all these words I put on the top, so stressed, anger, fear, you know, on the emotional intelligence scale, those are not real emotions. Those are the result of other emotions. And once you get that, then you start seeing how this plays in. So there's only 2 ways you can go outside of now. You can go forward and think about the future, or you can go back and think about the past. What I'm saying is, if you're sitting here right now and you're angry, stressed, or in fear, and the anger is dominant, then you're living in the past. I can't believe he did that to me. I cannot believe she said that to me. I cannot believe that happened to me. I should have never been through You're living in the past and you suffer. That means your thinking's in the past. If you're sitting here today and you're worried about your future, like I can't pay my rent, I can't pay my mortgage, I'm worried about losing 10 pounds for my best friend's wedding, and if you're freaking out about the future, well, then you're going to suffer. So your thoughts in the future are going to be anxiety and stress and worry. Your thoughts in the past are going to be anger. And again, who controls your thinking? You do. So you can control your focal point at any point. You know, like on that Enneagram system, which I hope to see some of you in if I offer that, like a type 4 will live their entire life back here. Like they'll see 2 people holding hands and they'll say, oh, I used to hold hands. Right? Where a 7 on the Enneagram is always looking forward. Like, oh, your house burnt down. Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? If she was a 7, she'd be like, what? Oh, it doesn't matter. Life happens. You know, my brother has some land over here and I'm going to get a tiny home. And how's your job? And they don't skip a beat and they stay focused on the future. But I'm going to say sometimes we suffer because those who focus on the future all the time never have to feel the feelings in the now. It's an escape mechanism, right? They might not always be as positive as they first appear. So the sweet spot again is living right here, right now, If you can get this and help people, oh my gosh. So here's one of my favorite quotations. Worrying is using your imagination to create something you don't want. Because just like the Abraham Hicks teachings will tell you, you might have like a stick, right? And on this side, it's like, I don't want it. And on this side is, I want it. But the stick is focusing on the same thing. Like, I don't want to be late. You're still focusing on what? Being late. So you'll get it whether you want it or don't want it. And this is what I want to show you today, is how that works on the quantum level when it comes to keeping yourself healthy and positive, and then working with other people and how that works. So one of my favorite quotations, and I have my youngest daughter suffers from anxiety, and you all know the story about the two wolves, right? I think that's a common enough, where there's a bad wolf and a good wolf on your shoulder, and the little boy says, "Grandpa, tell me about the story." And the grandpa says, as you go through life, you will always have a good wolf and a bad wolf on each of your shoulders, and they are always fighting. And the story goes, "Grandpa, which one will win?" And the answer is, whichever one you feed. Right? It always comes back to that good, bad, negative, positive. But I told that to my daughter when she was little. And in public, I would say, "Ella, focus on the good wolf." And she would be like, okay, you're right. But then I had to give her mantras. This is one of the mantras that works for her, so I'll share it with you if it works. I taught at Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College, and I had a student come up to me, and he said, "Jody, I feel like committing suicide, and I just want to talk to you about it because I'm going to do it, but I just want you to know why." And I was like, oh, geez, I am not qualified to handle this. I can get you to the right people. We can talk a little bit, but I'm not really qualified for this. And he's like, "Nope, I just want to talk to you about it." And we got into a big thing. And if you know me, I can talk. So we talked for a while. And then at the end, he was like, "Okay, maybe it's not so bad." And I said, "Listen, you just have to change your focal point right now. And anything's better than what you're thinking and saying to me that's negative. So let's just find a neutral zone." And for the sake of time, there it is. I'm figuring it out. You don't know the answer. You don't know what you're going to do, and you don't know what you're not going to do. So in the meantime, you're figuring it out. So I'm like, march to that drum, walk to that drum, think to that drum. Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? I don't know, but I'm figuring it out. And do you know that he never spoke to me again privately? He successfully completed my class. And about a year and a half later, I went to the local Subway. And I don't know if you understand this, but when you're a teacher or a professor, people think you live in the rafters of your classroom, and then you crawl out to teach, and then you crawl back up, right? So when your students see you in public, they kind of get weird, like, "Oh, don't talk to her. She's my teacher." So I've respected that about people for years. Like, I just pretend I don't know you, so I don't embarrass you. And he kind of gave me that vibe, like, "Oh my gosh, old teacher, weird." And so I was like, not going to bug him at all. And I went to pay for my sandwich that day. And he was a shy guy anyway. And he was checking me out. And he looked up and he said, "I'm figuring it out." And then I never talked to him. But that was super powerful. So I share that with you because it's just such a simple little motto. But if it's better than the thoughts you're having in your head, why wouldn't you use it, right? So I'm going to share that for the sake of that. So repeat after me. Ready? I can do anything for a short period of time. That's the mantra. So if something's skidding on, you could say that for 2 years in a row straight if you have to, but just for your brain, I can do anything for a short period. The holidays are coming up. You got to be around all sorts of diverse people that might rub you the right way or wrong way in your family. I can do anything for a short period of time. I got this, right? So just keep your head right. So we know that energy flows where your attention goes. Now this audience knows that that's beyond true. It's not just a saying, right? So how do we get to a point where we delete our negativity? And how do we get to a point where we actually can make good things happen to us? I literally live my life by the quantum physics rules, right? Because it works to your advantage. One tip I'll give you, and I'm a word person. Did you ever notice that the word silent and the word listen have the exact same letters in them? Isn't that a good tattoo? That's a good tattoo. So anyway, if you were to put an ER kind of thought on each of those words, do you see how some people are really good listeners for other people, and some people are very good silencers of other people? I would say the first skill to be a good communicator is definitely listening. Listening, and it's so hard. They teach us how to write, they teach us how to speak, they teach us how to read, but we never get taught how to listen. So listening is a skill of and within itself, and it's super interesting as a phenomena. Did you know that by the time you're an adult, which we all are in here now, you hear noises as a phenomena of not hearing them? Now, this is weird because it's not true for children. So let me tell you what I mean. Let's say that you know your significant other comes home at 6 o'clock, because every day at 6 o'clock, you hear the garage door go up at 6 o'clock. So the one day that they're not home at 6 o'clock, you hear it because you don't hear the garage door open at 6 o'clock. Does that make sense? So you hear things as an adult best in the absence of hearing your preconceived thought that you already have. That's how good we are. Like by the time you're an adult, you've classified moaning and groaning for pain and pleasure. Kids can't do that. Kids don't understand that. So what's interesting is like a lot of you, think about someone you know with a bunch of kids and you're at their house and the kids are wild and you're like, what? What are you saying? Your kids are so loud. And then a half an hour later, it's quiet and your friend's like, hold on a minute. My kids are up to something. And you're like, I don't hear anything. And she's like, exactly. You know what I mean, right? The minute you can't hear something, you can hear it. So one more example in case that got lost on anyone. Let's say that you take your phone and you're like, I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock tomorrow, and you put it to 6 o'clock, but you forget to activate it, but your brain thinks you activate it. So now your focal point of your brain is, my alarm is going to go off at 6 o'clock. But do you know what happens? Your body's so smart that when your alarm fails to go off at 6 o'clock, your body hears that it didn't go off, so it wakes up at 6:01 and you're like, oh my God, I'm a rock star. I don't even need to set. No, you're not a rock star. You did set your brain up for success. Does that make sense? So we have so many weird things that just happen whether you're aware of it or not, and we're going to get to those. So of course, when it comes to keeping yourself healthy or even interactions with others, controlling your emotions is number one. I'll tell you some ways that I do it, and I'm definitely not right, but this helps me. Number one, everyone's drunk in my life. Oh my God, my 10-year-old's drunk again. Shoot. I mean, and why do I say that? I say that because most humans are willing to take on denying, defending, counterattacking, getting emotional, explaining myself. But you know where we will all draw the line? We'll all draw the line at irrational behavior. Like, no, I'm not doing that. So if I can convince myself that someone else is intoxicated and irrational, then I won't take them on. Do you get it? And if you really ever watch someone at a bar or something, damn, you're hot. The server doesn't say, I'm not here for your entertainment. You need to respect me. What does the server do? They focus on the point of transaction. I'm sorry, ma'am. Do you have a debit card or I'm sorry, sir. Are you going to, oh, we had last call already. Have you ever watched them? They're resilient. They just stand in their truth of like gathering your money and everything just slides right off their back, right? That's why I say, if you can convince yourself that other people are intoxicated, you won't play. You won't. I know this. I do it all the time. Another thing I know that's helped me a lot, especially during the last couple years, is instead of saying, why did this happen to me? I ask, what am I supposed to learn from this? That's a powerful question. So especially now with things with family coming up with these holidays, I mean, it's key. Instead of like, why did this happen to me again? It's like, what am I supposed to learn from this person in my life? But if you can just switch the focal point of the question, sometimes it's not such a bad scenario after all. So we know that anger is one letter short of danger. So I would say at any given time, you got to get yourself right. You need to like do some burpees or have a beer or smoke something, or I don't know what you do to get yourself right. But you better figure that out and you better do it, okay? Because what the best way to show up for someone is neutral to robotic. Neutral to robotic. So I would say if you have any emotion in there, they're going to hear the emotion. They're not going to hear the beautiful words coming out of your face. So you need to do some burpees or whatever it is you do, and then show up neutral to positive, and all sorts of things will go better for you. So we'll just get ahead of the emotions there. Now, this is a thought that I had last time, but we're applying it a little different today. My number one takeaway for a small talk like this would be, don't should on people, and don't should on yourself. yourself. Now, an Enneagram type 1 person is the most guilty of this. Like, shut up, Jody, you're annoying. You should have known better. Don't do that. Oh, they're looking at you. Need to. I mean, in those, I'm not a type 1 actually, but for those of you who know about the Enneagram, this is your biggest pain body, is you're hard on yourself all the time. Type 1s want to say, if you knew how hard I was on myself, you would never criticize me ever again. If you just got a lump in your throat over that, then you're probably a 1, because that's how you feel all the time. But I will say to you that when you should on people or should on yourself, this is where all the pain is. This is where all the pain is. It's resistance. When you create resistance, nothing can thrive. It's like when water comes down a hill and sees a big boulder at the bottom, the water doesn't try to overcome the boulder and fight it, because you can't maintain a position of strength in the form of fighting for very long, can you? How long can you punch someone with the hardest hits of you can't do it very long. So you want to always take a position where you can be the strongest for the longest period of time. And that is being in the flow. That is letting go of resistance. That is dealing with what is right in front of you. Byron Katie's work is profound. I'm sure most of you have read it. You know, how do I know that I was supposed to speak here today? Because I'm speaking here today. I mean, it's just when you argue with reality, you lose. But only 100% of the time. That's a Byron Katie quote. That's profound. Let's say that again. My students would say, it is what it is. God, I hate that sentence. You know why I hate that? Because nobody lives it. The people who say it is what it is, they don't live it. That's why I can't stand it. But Byron Katie says it's so much better. She says again, when you argue with reality, you lose. But only 100% of the time. Now, this is funny, and if you get to the laughter, you get it. You get it. So it's like, let's do this. Uncle Bob, you shouldn't be drinking at Christmas. You need to know better. There are small children in the room, and I don't want children to be around drunk. You need to stop drinking. Stop it. Don't drink. You need to stop drinking. Byron Katie would come into your Christmas celebration or holiday celebration, and she would say, do you know why I know that your Uncle Bob is supposed to be drunk and drinking today? Do you know how I know that? Because he is. That's his job in this world. And he's really good at it. Yeah, but I don't want him here, and I don't condone it. Well, good. Then leave. I mean, really, when you argue with, you shouldn't drink. And then after Christmas, someone sees your uncle out in the community. Hey, Uncle Bob, how was your Christmas? You know darn well he's going to say, so good. I always like seeing people. We had a few drinks. It was great. He doesn't know any better, but you will say he ruined your Christmas because of his drinking. Who ruined your Christmas? You did, thinking about how your Uncle Bob shouldn't do something. So this is a trap. This is a trap in the mind. When you start thinking about other people, even with good feelings towards them, you should pay your child support and you should be a better parent. How do I know that you're not supposed to pay your child support? Because you don't. And the more discussions about this around the kids makes them hate the parent that doesn't pay the child support. If more people would go, how do I know that my significant ex is not supposed to be paying child support? Because they don't. Then you won't complain about them in front of the kids and won't teach the children to hate them. Do you get it? It always comes with the should. Did you have a question? That was interesting. Yes.
Yeah, I did have a question. So, like, if you do accept it, would there still be anything you do in case of, like, a modification? Like, let's say it is something you don't want to accept, or, like, you think it'd be something you want to modify for, like, personal benefit for the other individual. Like, instead of just accepting, like, okay, they don't do this. Like, or accepting that they do this. Like, would there be any way to accept that they do this, but also wanting it to be modified?
For you or for them?
I imagine for them.
Well, if they're doing it, they might be okay with it. Good question. So the question was, and I know we have a recording, so I'll try to repeat it. If you see a behavior that someone is doing and maybe you want to help them and modify it, is there a way to change the reality? Yeah, and that's where collaborative communication comes in. So on the short answer to that, and there is a book on my website for free that has 101 ways to deal with difficult situations. So it might be like, this is not about the problem, or this is not me against you. This is about the problem. Can we focus on this problem? So I give you a lot of turnarounds. But to answer your question, when you're being an honest communicator, You're not hiding underneath anything. You're just telling the truth. So that's the answer on the short. So how do we do that? The word prefer is a really nice word. I would prefer that you sit over here. We have a 6-foot rule for COVID. I would prefer that everyone take your seats. I'm going to be starting in about 10 minutes. I would prefer is a nice word because it doesn't create any anxiety or resistance in people. A lot of people think it's like, I would prefer that you shut the hell up. No, that's not how you use it, okay? So preferences are very nice. Like, I would prefer that you let me finish speaking before you talk instead of, don't interrupt me. You are rude. You need to know better. So the naughty words will get you more problems. If you want to communicate a preference, the word prefer is good. I would say feeling need, which is the language of nonviolent communication, Marshall Rosenberg from the early 1990s. So feeling need, again, people think they know how to use it. I'm feeling really frustrated and you need to shut the hell up. No, that's not how you do it. I'm feeling really overwhelmed because you forgot my birthday and I need to know that you actually care about me. That's clear. That's about the birthday. You can fix that. That's like one night on the couch. What is that? Camping? That's fun. Okay? So feeling need is a good set of words. Marshall Rosenberg, nonviolent communication. You could look at that work. I love the word prefer. I was in a prison where someone, well, you get a lot of weird comments when you teach in a prison, but I was in a prison where someone had said, seriously, nice tits, like as an angry thing. And I literally looked at him in front of 26 other people, thinking, oh geez, if I don't say anything, saying nothing is equal to agreeing, and I don't want that. But then if I tell him, you need to watch your mouth, you don't talk to me, stop it right now, you ought to know. If I use a resistant word, it's going to get worse or violent. So what did I use? Prefer. I would prefer that you call them breasts, actually. Okay, you guys, let's get into grow up sweet. And then, yeah, see what happened? Everybody laughed. And the guy I said it to was like, what the hell? And he was confused. So my personal philosophy is don't diffuse them, confuse them. And it works. So I would always tell the truth. And then you have to be at a point in your life where you're willing to let it fall, okay? So there is a Al-Anon, I think it's an anonymous type of poem. I have it in my book on boundaries, and I love it. And it's all about, the name of it is called Let Go. Have any of you seen that? You can Google it. It's anonymous author. It's called Let Go. It's exactly answering your question, where you cannot control another human being, so how do you have an influence on them? And I did it myself. I was married for over 20 years to the same person. We got back together and away and together and away. And finally I realized when my friend said, Jody, you have to stop throwing the pillow when he falls because you catch him. Let him fall. And there's no big drama. I mean, I married a man for 20 years who didn't pay any bills in my house. And he was fabulous. He is fabulous. But I have some weird energy in me where it's like, well, Jody, you make enough money. I'm like, oh dear, I kind of want a partner and I want someone to pay. But I put up with it, and you know how you create your own crazy. And it wasn't until I wrote a book on it and told everyone else, and everyone tells me I'm so amazing, only to find out I'm failing in my own life. I think that is the ultimate joke, right? The shoemaker's son has no... The conflict lady's family is full of, the conflict lady who writes a book on boundaries can't set boundaries. I mean, this is life. Welcome to life. But I will say that when you can accept that people are going to do what they are going to do, regardless of your opinion of it, then you're free of yourself. But I would always be honest. So another good way to answer that, and a lot of people I think will use it, is consequence of negative behavior. So, hey, can I talk to you a minute when you're sober? When you drink around the grandkids and all the children at Christmas, it's really embarrassing for some of us who don't like swearing and, lewd language and blah. So, consequence of the behavior. When you're late to the 9:00 meeting, I have to repeat myself multiple times, and it's become an issue. So just be honest as the result of the consequence of the behavior. That's the best way to do it. Does that make sense? We can chat later too. So here are the words that create resistance. So I am helping you see how to be a person who, instead of swimming up the rapids against the river and killing yourself because you can't maintain that position, you'll be exhausted. I'm suggesting that you kick your heels up and float down the river and go with the flow, okay? Because that's the best way life is meant to be. So how can you take control of it yourself? It would be to make a conscious decision to eliminate these words from your vernacular expression. And this is the language of business. I can't help you. You need to go up to the 5th floor. I'm not able to process that. I mean, how many of us use this language? How many of you have a child somewhere in your life? Or have any of you ever caught yourself talking to the child this way? You need to get in the car right now. We're late. Okay, where do the dishes go? You have to do better. We don't yell in this family, you guys. We are not yellers. Does anyone do that? Give me your phone right now. Give me your phone. You are done. You are done. Give me that phone. Who does this? Anyone? Like everyone? Yeah, that's called being a human. Here's what I'm trying to say to you. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. In fact, let's go in the workplace here. Let's do a professional setting. Let's say that I'm nice on my face and my tone, and I come up to someone and I say, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" She's like, "Yeah, what?" I would appreciate that you don't use sarcasm with me. What do you think you're going to get there? Then what do? Throat punch them? I mean, what's the next move? So you get to a place where you notice that if you use this language with people, it creates a lot of problems. And if you try to tell someone not to do something when they're revved up, oh geez, that's not a good thing. Did you know that the reason I want this to be our focal point of our talk today is because on a neuro-linguistic programming level, your brain can't actually understand the 3 words underlined as a verbal command. What does that mean? Let's look. Let's say that a kid was going to shove a fork in an outlet. What would one of their caregivers say to them? Stop, don't, you're not going to. You would get a derivative of don't, not, and stop. So we all do it, but here's what you don't realize. Human beings are only born with 2 fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's interesting. That means every other fear is like socialized into you. Isn't that interesting? So how loud is a caregiver when you're going to electrocute yourself with a fork? Pretty loud. So do you see, just with that one fact, we can guess that the majority of people in the world speaking English with these words, when you say don't, not, or stop, there's like they have like a little trauma on there, because when they were little and they were going to do something, that loud volume would have brought them to that, And some people, when they're told don't and not and stop, they're violently removed from the area, or they're spanked, or worse. So I'm going to say most humans have a negative response pattern to don't, not, and stop, just because of the sheer volume of it, plus the worst things that are attached with that. But then let's even be more literal. Your brain makes you as dumb as a dog when you try to process those words. You're as dumb as your dog. Let's test it. Let's say you're mad at your dog. Stop barking. No barking. You stop barking right now. You don't bark. You see these? You see these treats? You see these treats? No treats for bad dogs. Quit barking. You better stop barking right now. These treats are going on top of the fridge. What did your dog just hear? We're having a treat? Did I hear a treat? I think we're getting a treat pretty soon here. Do you know that this is exactly how your kids think? Let's say you go like this to your kid. Hey, listen up, eyeballs. Look at me. Look at me. No running at the pool. What's the first thing your kid does when they turn around? They take off running. Hey, don't touch Grandpa's new TV. What's the first thing your kid does? You're like, I told you not to touch it. How about this moment? I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And then he had a little micro expression right here that showed he was lying. I mean, just saying. What did Nixon say? I'm not a crook. And even younger generations who don't care about politics know Nixon said crook, liar, or thief. They know that. It's in the same wheelhouse. So I'm not lying. I don't lie. I'm not lying. Why do you always think I'm lying? I'm not a liar. I think she's lying. Do you see how it just works against you? I get to work with a lot of different groups, like drug and alcohol conferences, lots of police departments and things. Probably my least favorite group to work with is when someone calls me and they say, Jody, we have a bullying problem. And I'm like, oh, I just don't want to touch bullying with a 10-foot pole. And I'm not going to go into it, but I'll give you the basics with this. When I walk into an elementary school and it says, don't hit on the sign that the kid drew in the anti-bullying class, I picture myself as a 7-year-old all squirmy and waiting to go in line, and I'm feeling a little anxious and naughty, and then I look up and it says, don't hit. Guess what it makes me want to do? It kind of makes me want to hit you. And that's how it works. So your brain is actually set up to use this as like a positive negative. And unless you're into reverse psychology, which I kind of am, I wouldn't suggest that you use it. Because every time, let's see, you don't think you're naughty? You don't think you're naughty? I'm going to show you you're not above this and you're naughty, okay? Let's say that you're walking across my sidewalk and my yard's right here. You have your phone out. You have flip-flops on for sure. And you see a sign in the corner of my yard that says, don't even think about putting your big toe in my yard. And you're a little cheeky today and nobody's looking. What are you going to do with your big toe in your camera phone? It's going to be a screenshot. And you might even get snarky. Like, what is she going to do? Shoot it off? Yeah, I am. And then we're going to go to prison. This is how quick naughty people escalate. Do you get it? So when you tell someone not to do something, you're actually asking for the direct opposite of what you want. Do you get it? And if you want respect, you're never going to get it with these words. You guys need to sit down. I'm going to start talking and you need to take your seats. Stop talking. We can't have any noise. We have to start in 5 minutes. Would you be like, who's this speaker? So even if you ever are in front of a group at the holidays or you're talking in front of a group, I would prefer that we all take our seats now. We're going to prefer again. I love that word. I can't think of a better word. So on this neuro-linguistic programming level, you're going to see it. And you get to a certain age where you're like, are you going to try to change who I am? Like, I am who I am. What are you, Popeye? I mean, we can always change, right? So here's another thing I just want to point out. I'm guessing that a lot of you are in charge of signage at your house, at your job, at your, most people have a farm or a cabin or a shed or a private property or something. If you put a sign on this area of your belongings that have these naughty words on them, I will shoot it. And so will everyone else. Do you get this? Do you get this? Drive through rural Wisconsin and Minnesota and all over and start looking at the signs. Alaska, you can't even read the signs, okay? They're full of bullet holes. But if you go into someone's yard in a rural area and it says, do not think about entering, keep out, no entering, that person's sign always has a bullet hole in it and they have treads in the land because it makes a good person naughty. You know whose land doesn't have any bullet holes or treads in the land? It's the sign that has zero negative language. It's the sign that says, attention, private land. Did anyone want to just go run on that land? No, you don't have enough resistance built up to be naughty. The worst thing you can say is, don't even think about hitting me, because someone's going to swing on you. Do you get it? Try it with kids. I mean, when I work with the cops and the police departments will say, don't run. It's like, we might not want to use that language because it makes you kind of like want to run, right? So imagine going into like a high school bathroom and you see a sign on the wall in a girl's bathroom that says, please do not write on the walls. What do you think is going to happen by the end of the day? You're going to get more graffiti that day than not having that sign, because that's a human brain. So what I'm saying is, if you can make a conscious decision to eliminate these words from your vocabulary, in your self-talk, your intrapersonal communication, and with other people, you almost always can't have a problem with them. I mean, try it. You just can't. And then if you just go with the flow, it is what it is. How do I know that was supposed to happen? Because it happened. But then you can choose from there what you want to do. It's probably the $1 million question, right? I mean, I have a 16-year-old right now, and I woke up one night, and it was like 10:10 on a regular school night, and she was in the bathroom straightening her hair, and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm going out. I'm like, no, you're not. It's like 10:10. She's like, I'm going. I can't go then? I can't go? I was like, well, I would prefer that you stay home and you don't have my permission to go, but I can't exactly sit on you. What are you doing? She's like, she's going to be here like any minute. Can I go or not? I will not let you go. You don't have my permission to go. Well, she's here, so I'm going. Can I go? See how that goes back to your question. It's like, what do? I can't punch my daughter in the face. I can't sit on her. I mean, right? What am I going to do? So I said, if you choose to walk out this door, that's your choice, but there's going to be a consequence. She walked out my door, and I was really upset, and I was just like anyone. I think she's going to die or do some drugs, or you have the worst case in your brain. And then I waited up for her, and when she came home to a locked door, I said, give me your key. Now I have her key, and I said, if you leave on a different timeline other than the rules in my house, the next time you come home late, the door will also be locked, and you can sleep outside. See how consequences to other people's behavior are the best way to handle it, but the minute you get emotional over it, you don't care for them. So it's funny, in conflict you learn, the more you care for someone, the less you show your emotions. Then they can hear your care for them. But if I'm like, you need to be better, Mina, you have to do better. You cannot be out, you're going to die, and you're going to get drinking and drugs and worse. And no, that's not going to help her. You know what's going to help her? Is my indifference to her choices. That's how you teach people how to be responsible and accountable, is you let them hold all their power, knowing that if they choose one way, there's a consequence, and if they choose another, there's a consequence, and the whole time you don't care anyway, because they're probably drunk. Get it? Okay, good. I am looking at this time, and I don't want to be abusive to your time here. Of course, I have a million other slides. Here was my famous quotation that I love by Byron Katie. I was driving here today trying to think of how do you talk to people about you are responsible for your own thoughts and be mindful of your own thoughts. And I have a little sexy conclusion for us here, and hopefully the slides will be made available later and you can look through them. But here's my conclusion, and I think it's a good one. And you've all, I think, heard of it. Have you ever heard the parable of the old man, the little boy, and the donkey? So it's old, and I actually Googled it not so long ago, and I found the real ending, which is why I want to share it with you. It's not what you think it is. So in the original parable, it's about an old man, a little boy, and a donkey, and they go over the bridge into town, and they don't go to town often, and they're going to go shopping. And the townspeople look at the three of them, and they start gossiping. Oh, look at them. They have a donkey, and they don't even know how to use it. And the old man is confused, and he's like, oh, people are judging us. Maybe we should do something. So he throws the little kid up on the donkey, and they keep walking. And then some people are like, oh, I'm sorry. We don't have respect for our elders. This little boy is going to ride on the donkey, and this poor man has to walk alongside. He's old. He should be able to ride the donkey. And the little boy and the old man hear this, and they don't know what to do. So they switch places. And now the old man is riding the donkey, and the little boy's walking alongside. And the next group, these people start gossiping, and they say, look at that poor little boy. His legs are half the length of that old man. He's got to practically run alongside that thing. This is like child abuse. And the old man is like, I don't know what to do. So he reaches down and he pulls the little boy up on the donkey with him. And now they're both riding the donkey. And the next group are like, oh, that poor donkey. Seriously, he's got to carry two people. And then the next scene in this parable is that the old man and the little boy are carrying the donkey because they don't know what to do. And you would think that that's the end of the parable, right? You would think it would be like, people are going to judge you no matter how good you are or how great your intentions are. Even if you're doing right by everyone, someone will find something wrong in what you're doing. You will always be judged. So I think the original thought of that parable would be like, you do you, because people are going to judge you anyway. You might as well be happy in who you are as long as you're not hurting another human. Just live to your truth, okay? That's the answer. But I Googled it and I found the actual original ending. Would you like to hear how it really ended? It's a great message. Ready? So the old man, the little boy, and the donkey are walking back to their village, and they go over the bridge over the river. And the old man trips and falls, and he dumps the donkey in the water, and the donkey drowns. So the original parable ends like this. You are responsible for your own donkey. I think in Minnesota we say, keep your eye on your own bobber, stay in your own lane. But that's the message I'm going to leave with you today. When it comes to being resilient and keeping your focal point correct so that you can thrive, you are responsible for your own donkey. Nobody can make you angry. Nobody can make you upset. Only you can do that based on your thinking. And who controls your thinking again? You do. So you're more powerful than you realize. So with that, I need to transition back over. I did bring some of my books if you'd like to look at them. I'll be here if you want to chat. Thank you so much. Have a great day. So I would say as a group that is standing together today, we're going to create an energy that is so powerful that not only can we shift our community around us, but we can shift the society at large, and that we have the light that can be seen in the darkness of the world right now, and we can guide people to keep their focal point on the positive. Every spiritual tradition says turn the other cheek, right? Turn the other cheek. And some people think it's wise, so you can hit me on the other side. Turn the other cheek is all about, I look at what I don't want, and that's called education. Thank you for educating me on who I don't want to be married to and who I don't want to have as a job boss. And thank you for showing me the behavior in society I don't want. And now I will never look at it again because that was just a good education. I choose to turn the other cheek and focus on what I want. Because I got a really good education in the last 2 years on what I don't want. Thank you for that. But we're never looking at it again. We're going to turn the other cheek and put all our focal point and energy on what we do want. So that's my blessings to this group, is that you remember to focus on the good and what you do want. Never give energy to what you don't want ever again, and you will thrive. So thank you.